Zhao is doing 2 performances, and it's going to be followed by a conversation with Julietta Cheung, and it's part of a group exhibition, Current Animals Improved Cartoon Psychoanalyst, Scares Commentator. And here is Zhao performing.
Hitch, a one-act play by Dao Nguyen, pronounced Dao Nguyen. Characters: salesman, 30-something-year-old man; artist, 50-year-old woman; identifying person of color, in black, denim jumpsuit; period, black and white striped sock puppet, made from recycled Italian cashmere, wears a crimson felt jacket; woman in nun's habit, 30-something-year-old, white woman; monk, 40-something-year-old, white man, in yellow and orange silk robe; stage hand reads stage directions. Act I, Scene 1. Gray skies. An alley behind a row of brick 2- and 3-story flats. 2 people stand in front of an open garage door center stage. A line of plastic garbage and recycling bins flank both sides. A wooden Varda rests on cinder blocks and dominates the 2-car garage. Red and yellow streaks peek out beneath the latest layer of peeling, mud-speckled, Kelly green paint like rings of a tree. Undulating waves of pink trim frame windows on 3 sides, a curving roof, and a small door on one end. The highest point of the curved roof just brushes the frame of the garage door in the ceiling. A man with a haircut so fresh that a border of fair, soft skin along the hairline separates it from a grizzled face, stands to one side, his hands shoved into his armpits. He wears a sweat-stained western shirt beneath a fleece jacket, a clip-on tie from the boys section of Target, acid-wash jeans, and snakeskin boots that were once a bright turquoise but are laced with salt damage. Artist stands opposite, wearing a hot pink wool beanie, thick compression socks, purple platform Crocs, and a black denim jumpsuit, the best one of 3 that she sold on a vintage Singer before she traded it in for a plastic one she found off Facebook Marketplace. A lumpy sock puppet in a gold beanie covers her right hand and extends up over the elbow. The ground is still wet from snow showers from the morning, and the scraping sound of a shovel can be heard from around the block.
Can't make aura like this anymore. $2,499. Seems like a lot. More than a government stimulus. Look, there's a couple coming to see this in 30 minutes. They want to turn it into a post-pandemic food truck, so if you want it, you better act fast. I already waited a week to list it. You're not the only one waiting for government money. What's the difference between a post-pandemic food truck and a food truck? People need to be reminded that death is imminent. It feeds desire. I'm just not sure what I'll do. We've been out all day and your hands are sending chills up my spine in a not good way. You still taking advice from Poppy or Posse? Poesis. I mean, it's Pierrot now. No one can pronounce my name? Sounds fancy. French, actually. Definitely has that je ne sais quoi. Did you decide what it was going to be? She. It's going to be she. I thought she was like a mushroom with lots of sexes or genders or something. I think she might be a slime mold. She might be they. Interesting. They loathe that word and do not feel like the royalty befitting the pronoun in this case. They are sore. I haven't figured them out. Everyone needs a purpose or a function. Do they? Who wants to be an existential crisis wrapped in an enigma, cat fur, and recycled sweater yarn that you couldn't bear to throw out? Less screen time and you would have figured it out? Are they supposed to be your mother? Geez, I hope not. I never thought of that. It's cold. What's one more useless object among many when regret is eternal? I guess if the project doesn't work out, I could turn it into a post-pandemic food truck. Not before copious amounts of hand-wringing, puppet wringing. I'm just a vehicle for your machinations, a crash test dummy. Sell it back to me if it doesn't work out. Me or the caravan? Methinks neither. We're in it for the long haul.
Pirate motions hands as if beating drum. Salesman laughs.
Everybody loves puppet shows. I did consider that. I want to turn it into some kind of cross-country traveling mushroom thing. I like the idea of spreading spores. This thing does not look like you could travel cross-country in it, and I mean you specifically. You would not last a night in this thing, and neither would I. Pretty sure there's no central heating or plumbing. At least you'd finally get to use the shiwi. Peeing while standing has its perks. I keep forgetting to bring it in the shower. I could get a generator or something. Shit. I missed the deadline to sign up for that wilderness survival class. 6 a.m. classes should be outlawed. Does this thing even have wheels? Not yet, but I'll keep an eye out. By the time you find some, she'll have moved on to something else.
Artist. Pulls out phone and types Triller Hitches into Google.
Seriously? Would that I could roll my eyes right now. You got a lot of options. Take it home and spend some time with it. It's the only way you'll know what to do with it. Sell it back if you aren't satisfied. Yeah, but will you buy it back for $24.99?
Down the alley, a neighbor opens a window and climbs onto a fire escape to smoke. The voices of Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion filter out from a stereo inside. Whores in this house. There is some whores in this house. There is some whores in this house. There is some whores in this house. Hold up, I said certified freak, 7 days a week. Wet ass pussy, make that pull-out game weak. Woo, ah. Two white people in an orange Subaru Crosstrek with a trailer hitch pull up and park. The woman wears a nun's habit, and the man wears yellow month robes. They get out of the car and walk up to the garage.
Whoa, better than I imagined. Needs a new paint job, but we can serve vegan meals and God. And non-denominational spirits.
Artist. Takes a step closer to salesman.
Wait, I haven't decided yet.
Salesman. Turns to artist.
I will honor that you came here first. Do you want it or not? Are you serving God or non-denominational spirit? Is for art or capital A art? We brought cash. Venmo is just as good. Not safe to carry cash. If someone steals from us, they need it more than us. What about the white supremacist who stole shoes from a congresswoman? Some are lost and in need of help. We are in the business of helping others. Maybe it's a self-care mushroom caravan. Caravan! With puppets! Or a puppet. It's entertainment. They are a lost cause. Isn't that what they call themselves? Redemption is possible for all who seek it. Fomenting civil war and sedition seem at odds with redemption. Okay, I do have somewhere I need to be soon. Can I pay half of it now and send you the rest later? Generally, I don't do installments during a pandemic. When is later? Perhaps our missions could be united. We can go in on it together. What? Mushrooms are vegetarian. Sounds like a match and a deal. Mushrooms are actually more similar to animals than to plants. Some have been known to capture and digest nematodes. As long as you aren't doing animal sacrifices for your god, this is going to work out wonderfully. How do you know? We just met. We don't, but we have faith. I don't know if I believe in a god. I mean, I don't not. Don't you have to have faith in art? Ruh-roh. It's not the same. Here's a thought. We buy the caravan and you could be our resident artist. Our Instagram followers would love that. We're all a part of the social network. Wait, hun, does she have any followers? We'll need to have her sign a lease agreement and fill out an application. Lease agreement? Don't worry, it's a formality. We'll give you a special rate. What happened to Faith?
Blackout. End of scene. Inceptional. Excerpt of a one-act play by Dao Nguyen. Pronounced Dao Nguyen. Characters. Cat, a Cornish Rex, patchwork quilt coat of browns, blacks, grays. Artist, 50-year-old woman identifying, person of color, in black recycled fleece jacket, puffy vest, black ripstop nylon pants over black base layer leggings. Period. Black and white striped sock puppet wears a collar jumpsuit and a safari hat with mosquito netting. Stagehand reads stage directions. ACTI, Scene 1. A dark room with one window, stage left. Heavy gray curtains envelop the window and trail in the dust on the wood floor beneath it. Walls of utility shelves hold books, bins of obsolete technology, recording devices, coils of wiring in assorted colors, glass jars that once held tomato sauce, pickles, and jam, hole buttons, rocks, and glitter. A laptop sits on a stack of books on an IKEA desk center stage. A broom leans against the edge of the table. Note cards scatter across the surface in one corner next to a cat mug and a lemon. Button fern. Coagulated milk congeals above day-old, overly sweetened coffee. Caffeine halos stain the surface around the mug. Artist stands stage left desk. Parent override humbly ends again. A dustbin clipped under her other arm, and a dirty rag in the other hand. Her brows knit into a question turned on its side. To the right of artist, cat sits on a cushion on an office chair.
When are you now? Have you come from the future? Who knows anymore? came back to catch up on some things.
Artist walks across the room towards the window, stops halfway, walks back to the laptop, stares for several minutes.
I was looking for something. Goddess help us. The phone! The phone is missing. Once I find it, we're heading to the woods. How is the time machine art project going? Are you asking whether it's art or not? Such a tired old question. I need to water the plants. Fern looks on the brink of death. We're a triple espresso away from collapse. Random housework between staring at a laptop. That isn't different from what you normally do. Where does studio life or art begin or end? Is it worth the sacrifices? Not to have any boundaries? Hard to calculate overtime pay when you don't get paid by the hour. Trying to be open to the porosity of it all. So sleep deprivation makes for material. I don't have the luxury of sleeping all day. As long as you don't forget to feed me, as you often do during these projects. Do you know what day it is? I can time travel and fix it. You wouldn't even know it. What about when the project is due and you have nothing but sleep deprivation to show for it? I have all the time in the world now. Are you going to time travel to sleep too? Your metabolism was made for sleeping all day. I'll be fine. Like the bank intern who died of an epileptic seizure after working for 72 hours straight?
Artist picks up the note cards.
You do realize that you're not getting any younger or actually getting any more time? What are you talking about? Time may be infinite, but human life is not. My job consumes the best part of the day. It's not fair. That's the FOMO speaking. Those of us who aren't nocturnal need light and vitamin D. How are you getting that staring at a laptop screen? Well, this was supposed to be quick. Where did I see that message? Ugh, what a mess. Why do we still use email? You had opposable thumbs. You could help. In every story, there is a consequence to time travel. I suspect that, like sleep, there is a debt to be repaid. Oh, it gets worse? Unless I decide to not return to the future or the present. So, is this about escape? I could think of better ones. What are you doing now? Deleting emails. How are there so many? I could have sworn I deleted these. Unsubscribe. I have to go through them first to see if I need them. So your project is a performance where you time travel to clean out your inbox?
Blackout. End of scene.
Real quick, one of my favorite pastimes is, this is only going to take 5 seconds, is watching cartoons. And today I had a little bit of time while I was eating some lunch, and I came across this, which I thought really went well with our show.
People's deaths, eh?
That's it. Okay.
Let's go with it.
Thank you for indulging me, everyone. Anyway, Julietta, Zhao, and I actually all met in 2010 in a seminar class ran by Hamza Walker. And Julietta has been kind enough to to join us to be in conversation with Zhao. And here's Julietta right here, and here's Zhao, and they're gonna talk. So welcome, Julietta. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I'm so excited to be able to be in conversation with Dao. We have just about 15 minutes, and there are so many questions I have for Dao, right? So I'm just gonna jump right in and start with the main one, which is, right, so the main one that I have is sort of like an anchoring question. So, Dao, I think that AI and digital tools seem really prominent in your work, not just with Spectrum and Hitch that we saw today, but also with your other works. But in particular with Spectrum and Hitch, the AI which you've assigned to for the role of the stagehand, which also works as the operator, right? Like the stage operator, makes me wonder if these works that we saw today are a form of critique of digital technologies in everyday life. Like for instance, if wondering if you're thinking that people no longer pay attention to or sense that there is an operator at hand, right? So yeah, could you talk a little bit about more about that?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think that it's like primarily with this presentation, it's definitely that, and there's also other like invisible things. I think like with digital, we think that, or with like technology, we think that if it is neutral, and this goes back to other things, like there's a lot of things having to do with language, which is like informs the structure and like the breaking apart of like the play and the presentation, where there are certain structures that are invisible and they extend, and this also goes to like capitalism as a part of that too, like that we've sort of internalized. And so it's like questioning, so like capitalism and language and this idea of like there being something that's like neutral that we're just kind of using, or the tools that we're using and looking through, but that they're always there and they're made and created by someone who has their biases and also has their intentions and things for what they're doing with it. And also I think just like they are both obvious and not obvious, like some things like you think that the AI is still a bit far off and then suddenly it's surprising when it pops up, but it's actually it's already in your pocket, and anytime that you're using any kind of technology, there's things that it already knows about you and follows you everywhere. And I think like this particular format is just something we're more familiar with just recently, and I think like the pandemic kind of like highlights that more.
Yeah, thanks. And I think what you just said about intention, like, that there is always somebody behind it, but also that the other word you used was neutral, that AI seems neutral. And that I definitely picked up on that, even more so today, actually. Felt like there's a sense that sort of the work, especially with Hitch, really raised this sort of the contradictory, this very odd relationship between AI and being human. So like on the one hand, the voiceover of the AI, I mean the types of language or the text that the AI had to read, the stagehand had to read, it's almost like accessibility descriptions, right? But on the other hand, the voice, right, the engineering of the voice seems to remove all intention behind the words. It's like, especially I felt that for me when I listen to the especially when they're reading out the race of the actors and of the players and things like that. So that's really interesting. I'm gonna actually, I think I want to jump to a different question than now. And also, I don't know if you saw that we're getting an extra 15 minutes, so we have a whole half hour for our conversation. So that's really excellent. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about art, labor, and the experience of time in your work. So that has something to do with Hitch, but also with the new experimental reading that you shared with us as the second part of the reading. And also, and in terms of labor, it's not just, I mean, your text mentioned something in particular about sort of the artist as a laborer type thing, but I also sussed out things like about the labor of consumption. Like, so it, like, especially when we watch the screen, when you were able to screen share and we could see that, and I imagine the viewers who are watching this, hopefully they have seen Spectrum as well, and they can see all the screens and everything. So as the viewing public, so I had a lot of work to do, right? I was listening, I was looking, I was reading, and then there's also this this reminder that we're constantly searching on Google, right, to find our answers to allow us to function in life and whatnot, right? So yeah, so again, art, labor, and the experience of time. I wonder if you could sort of ruminate on that with us a little bit.
Yeah, and then this also like relates to the piece that's in the show too, and I admit that like it's very abstract, and it does like require some, I mean, it's like much of my work they're like, it's like a puzzle, and which for me, I mean, might not be for everybody, is kind of part of the fun, but it's also I think like the connections of different things, and I guess the other thing is I feel like maybe I'm making or asking, there's always more to so there's a lot of frames, and there's always more to what's just visible within the frame that's outside of the frame that you get more context if you actually look for. I mean, it's just like anything, I guess. I think if you take something at surface level, like a lot of like, stuff that's out there, you might not get everything. And so maybe I want people to take the effort to look beyond and be critical, I guess, or to find out a bit more. The thing about like labor is there's so much invisible labor on the side of for the artist, that's, which is also the piece on the show, where it's like, and it feels like, because we live under capitalism, that everything is already like value is a question, or value is something that just we can't help thinking about. And if it's not value, like to artists, it's time, because time equals money, right? Especially like artists don't have any money, they have time, and that's kind of like what it equates to, or what it like under capitalism, you get paid by the hour, or that's like one of the ways in which you measure it. But there's like so much other work that happens outside of just any like object or something that you've made, or any single presentation. And so I'm like kind of showing I guess behind the scenes, some of the things that are happening, like to orchestrate something or to make something.
Yeah. And I think that maybe this is a great way to sort of segue into my next question, because it's sort of what you discussed, those are a lot of the themes, right? So I'm curious about the ways you work in really provocative metaphors. And I see that throughout the scenes in Spectrum, but also in Hitch. Metaphors like mirroring, the mushroom, and even the character Pierrot, that you know, the fancy French name, right? So I wonder if you could talk a little bit more, like give us a little bit, you know, as much insights as you think we should have about how you work with these metaphors, and I'm also curious about whether, if you have time, talk about whether these recur in your overall body of work as well.
Yeah, I think, well, the mirroring thing it goes to, so I guess there's two things. So I often think about it. So I mean, we call like the like a phone the black mirror that we're looking into, I think, because in some ways it's turned into this thing like there's an aspiration for robots to be able to exhibit like intelligence like humans, but they're different, and so it's not exactly a mirror, but it is like some ways it's a mirror in that it kind of reflects more of like our desires as humans. Like it tells us like what kinds of things like that we want, because that's what we've created it for, or one of the things that we've created it for. But I think actually it might be more like a prism, because it's like it's not just a single reflection, but it's like a refraction where something gets splintered and there's just a lot more, where it's always like, you know, and even like something like an animated GIF, or I mean, this is like the whole thing behind computation as well, where it's like loops, where it just keeps growing and repeating, and I'm interested in those sorts of things where then it like is alive or has a life of its own. I think like we measure like artificial intelligence by how much it's like humans in terms of intelligence, but actually it's a lot like life in different ways, in the way in which like technology just like proliferates, like a meme is kind of like a virus, and it just like the way in which an image just picks up and like and it's just like changing. So I guess with some of the things, you know, like the Google index, where it just changes and shifts, and it sort of reflects to some degree what, including all the biases as people are finding out when you search on something or you look up like something for an image.
Yeah. I might come back to your response in a little bit. I'm still sort of mulling it over. But
yeah, and I might not have answered all your questions either. I think I just started.
Yeah. But the one thread that I picked up is when you're talking about how things proliferate. So I think that the nugget that I might come back to is the question about systems. So like how a system operates, right? So like what's the logic behind the system that allows it or facilitates that kind of activity, like spreading or turning something that becomes a meme, like that's already built into the logic of the system, right? So but the thread that I can easily go to right now from that response is your thoughts about the ways pandemic life intersects with digital culture or even technological regimes. One of the things that sort of is also related is that I'm questioning, like I'm very interested to know a little bit more about your take on mobility or migration as the caravan uh, sort of trope came up in Hitch as well. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I was working from home before the pandemic. I think but it's made even more so like this way in which we're constantly looking through screens, and interacting and doing things with each other through screens. So I think that like even more so with the pandemic, that's like kind of like also like, at least for some of us, I think some people don't have, I guess, the privilege of like the option to work from home and we working through screens, but they're still, you know, using phones in order to do their jobs. And we're finding that like the things that aren't digital, I guess, are were much more difficult. And if anything, and I'm like positive or negative, I don't know, but I think that like industry sees that this is even more reason to digitize everything. And so anything, it just accelerates, or it will accelerate it. You'll see more because of how much. The other thing is, I don't think that this is like I kind of think like the pandemic is like a dress rehearsal for climate change. And we're already seeing, I mean, we just had like a tornado watch warning earlier today and earlier this week. So it's like these, you know, and that's unusual. And we're seeing like these global events that are happening, that, or these things that are happening at a scale where, you know, on top of everything else, there's this feeling, I mean, and this goes to the mobility thing of like precariousness, and like the caravan, or the Vardo kind of goes back to, it actually was like loosely like a response. It was like I used a procedure to write, to generate it, but it's kind of from somewhat influenced by Mother Courage, but more like contemporary. And I was thinking about the Vardo as like the gypsy caravan, where the gypsies like had this nomadic lifestyle, and I was thinking like my own background as a refugee, and you know, kind of being like interested in this, like, I guess how that like with climate change that we could all kind of become, that's not necessarily all in this piece, but I'm just like that we could be refugees, or that you know, we need, you know, that there's this mobility that at any point you might have to pick up and go stay with somebody or go, you know, because if your house was just torn up by a tornado or something, like, we don't know. So I guess it's just sort of thinking about those scenarios and like how we're more mobile. But I think for like, I've had other pieces where I've made pieces that are like mobile. I think another side to it is just like thinking about like movement, and like, you know, I think maybe previously it was a bit more literal in my work, where I'm interested in movement, but like this particular object in the play, like it has no wheels, so it can't move, and so sort of feeling like stuck. And we're in this like time where like I have a question about like capitalism and like what's the future, and so wondering about like where does that go somewhere?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're and maybe this relates to sort of just some conversations that we've had before about how, in a way, you saw, or you still do see this exhibition, your work in this exhibition, as an opportunity to experiment, right? So I'm like, could you elaborate a little bit more on that about, and also like, I'm thinking in terms of you seeing this as maybe an opportunity to ask questions, and so like, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I get like I'm very much like they're like philosophical questions in there, and in a lot of my work where and I'm using it as like a way. So I think about like performance philosophy is like this um, thing where like we're like practice is like a way to do theory or a way to like think through something. And so the other thing is like aside from like the academic piece, I also think about like in stand up where you might go see a large show and it's like the show is like this scene feels final, but like the comedian like goes to different like open mics and they're like working the material presenting it to the audience and seeing like what hits and what like comes back. So I guess it's also like with performance a way to like interact a bit more, get feedback from an audience, and to work through to see what gets a laugh, or what connects, or where ideas, and then that sort of like it's also like in the process there's like also as a performance artist, like everything it's like very somatic, like when you're doing something. So it's just like there's a writing piece of it, but then like the actual like reading and it going through my body, there's also a thing that I learned through that process as well.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask you, I think I'm gonna ask this last question, and then maybe it's a great time to work Greg back in case he has any questions to relate to you, or if he personally has anything to add to us. So the last question that I have is, well, I saw or I listened to the work that you did. To me, it's very much in a similar vein, and really set me up for my engagement with Spectrum and Hitch, which is your work for the show Institutional Garbage at Sector 2337. And in case, I don't know if you want to put it in the chat for the audience to be able to find documentation of that show or not. But the question that I have is that it feels to me that like each of your works previous builds onto the next one and so on. So I want to ask you how you see your practice or your body of work evolving over these last few years.
I mean, I do think that like each thing builds, like I said, I learned something from one thing. I also often like parasitize my own work. Where like,
could you say that one more time? You often what?
Parasite. So there's also
okay,
that kind of thing that I like, has come up in some of the work. But this, and also like you think about technology, where something like feeds off of something else, or there's some kind of like relationship. I mean, so like there are things that I guess if I put something out and then I don't like the way that it's, or like maybe it isn't doing what I want it to, or like I learned something and I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna reuse this piece of it, and so that gets taken into another piece. Or I try something, it's just like in stand-up, I try something and I'm like, well, I like that, but it may not work as well with the content, and so like the presentation, and so then I do it with something else, and so then, but also like it's just this also goes back to the thing about how like things sort of like proliferate, or like in technology, and so like that piece that you're referencing started out as like a response to another exhibition that was like about documentation and all of the like materials like from a show that was only existed online, and then that had a few iterations that then like later like I wasn't able to do the performance and somebody else performed it, and so it was like created kind of for that. But then I thought it would be interesting, like I didn't have a documentation of it, and like documentation is kind of a like this question in performance. So then I made a new piece that was the documentation, but it was also like, an add-on or new to the previous ones. And with that, there was like a printed and an audio piece. And so it's just like sometimes we also do like reenactments and so maybe it's like a reenactment of like a piece or something like that too. And so there's always, and this also relates to the thing where like there's a script and a performance and the relationship of the performance to the script. So the script, can have many interpretations or many ways in which it's like enacted. And so the same thing about like how, which I am also interested in this way in which like things sort of like grow and divide and proliferate, or those things that do.
Yeah, and document, and what you said, I think it makes me think a lot about sort of questions around exhibition practices too, like ephemera. What really constitutes a work, what really constitutes I guess an exhibition, right? There's a lot of what I think Joseph Grigley would call exhibition prosthetics that go along with the exhibition, that really has a very strong role in sort of framing the way that we engage with exhibitions that we see, right? So, but then there's this other thing going back to pandemic experience, even though I know everybody is so tired of that, including myself, right? But what was brought up is that because we couldn't go to see anything, so then everything that we see are either an image of something, or it's a work that's been maybe video captured or live streamed or something with a particular view. So all of these things is something about being there and not being there, which also comes up. I find a lot of those sort of moments that your work with Spectrum and Hitch also touched on. It's like we're there, but we're not really there. The dramaturgy, all of those things. So anyway, like I said to you previously, I feel like we have enough for a lifetime of conversations, and I really look forward to so many more future exchanges and really these wonderful deep moments with you. So thanks for having me to be in conversation with you. I really appreciate that. And Greg as well. Thank you, Greg. Okay, Greg is back.
Thank you, Julietta, for joining us. Thank you, Zhao. Just to touch on that notion of labor and what is seen and what is not seen, at this point, I think it's appropriate to thank deeply Lumpen TV and Tamara and Nemec that are behind the scenes making all this work, and for allowing us into your space. So thank you so much for having us. And just a couple of announcements. Tomorrow we will be back, we as in the exhibition, which you can call Cartoon Psychoanalyst Scares Current Commentator, Animals Improved. We'll be back on Lumpen TV at 2 p.m., live streaming another aspect of the exhibition, which is SN, Signal Noise, aka Saturday Sunday Noise, and we'll be performing IRL in real life from Buddy Chicago, Buddy in the store in Chicago, in the Chicago Cultural Center. So if you can come and join us in real life, we'll be performing there at 2 p.m. with Kikù Hibino setting things up. And for anybody that's wondering who the performers are, I have dug up their Instagram handles. There you go. So we have Fifth Sound, Alyssa Collett, and Alan Moore that are going to be performing tomorrow. And it'll also be live streamed here on Lumpen TV, if that wasn't clear. That's it. Cool. Have a wonderful evening. To everybody that was maybe looking forward to seeing concerts and stuff, for finally getting to celebrate Pride after not being able to for the past, basically, I don't know, like everything is 2 years ago. I'm sorry that the weather might have affected your plans, and that sucks. Anyway, let's on maybe a more happy note. That was a really fantastic performance, and seeing it actually twice I think was cool. And Julietta and Zhao, that was a really, really great conversation. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.